Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. David Wolf here. Tonight we are having breakfast for dinner. Sounds a little strange, but a lot of folks do enjoy this. I think it's a wonderful dish, and it's very simple. I'm going to use one skillet, one sheet pan, an oven, and you're all set. So it's really not complicated at all. I want to talk about this book. This book is a wonderful edition that is from a restaurant in Philadelphia, and it is a 2019 James Beard favorite restaurant in the country. So really good recipes in this book. It's about Israeli cooking, and that's where the inspiration for this dish came from this evening. The author's Michael Solomonov, and you'll find this maybe at Barnes & Noble or someplace like that. So let's get cooking. What I've got is a skillet. I've put a little preheat on it, and what I did is I took my meal kit that I got from one of the bags, and I separated everything out. Pitas separated with the za'atar spice and everything in order. So with this preheated skillet, I'm gonna get started. So I have the oil, onion, etc. So I'm gonna start out with a large majority of the oil and put that into the skillet. I'm gonna save about a tablespoon of that oil for my pitas when it's time to do that process. So I'm gonna allow that oil to come to a little bit of a smoking point, for sure, nice and hot, so as you can start to smell the olive oil. Right behind that, I'm going to put in the chopped onion that you've got, and it should start sizzling immediately, and you want that to happen so you can have that reaction of the onion and that hot oil to start doing the cooking process. This is a really nice smell that I'm getting off of this dish. Smells great. We should see these onions just kind of bounce around a little bit and having some action in the skillet. As if we don't, it's not going to cook fast enough, and it's not going to cook efficiently. We don't want a lot of color on the onion, just enough sizzling to make the onion cook to a transparent condition. And then I'm going to move in with the chopped garlic. And the chopped garlic is a wonderful addition. It's got wonderful aromatic to it. It's not going to be long that we let that garlic cook. We want to be able to have that sweet smell of that garlic in the cooking process. It's kind of moving things around. Next, I have staged pretty much in the order that they're going to go into the skillet. I have the diced peppers. You can use red pepper, green pepper. Today I used a little bit of a combination of jalapeno pepper and green bell pepper. Now, the way that Michael Solomonov made that dish in Philadelphia is he had a fair measure, probably about a full cup of red bell pepper and green bell pepper. It's really up to you and your personal preference. These jalapenos that I put in there, just give it a little bit of a spice, not too terribly strong, because I took the majority of the seeds out and the membrane. This is where the majority of that heat is aligned in those peppers. The next item I'm going to put in there is some cumin. And your recipe reads to put it in after the tomatoes or after the garbanzo beans, but I like to put it in there first, only because I think it's good to get those nice warm flavors of that sweet paprika, kind of Spanish paprika, along with the cumin. Kind of cooking them in that oil is going to deliver a much better flavor. And once we allow that to get a nice, beautiful color, we're going to go in right behind it with the garbanzo beans, otherwise known as the chickpeas, with the water that they're packed in. This is all designed based on the measure, so we can have this beautiful sauce developed in the skillet during the cooking process. So you should have, at this point in time, your oven's preheated to about 400 degrees, and that's going to work out fairly well for this process. Now that I've got that in there, I'm going to be able to put in a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. You've got a large measure of salt and pepper in your kits tonight. Do not use it all. You'll have a very salty product. So that is there for tonight's class and for many other classes moving behind that. The next item I'm going to put in is this chipotle pepper puree, which again is not traditional. It's something that I think makes this dish a little bit more exciting. I'm going to allow that to incorporate in there, stirring it in. And I don't think it's too strong, but if you really have zero to very little tolerance for heat, you might want to opt out, or just put a small measure in there and continue to taste it as you go so that you know how powerful that is. Next, I'm going to put in the diced tomatoes. Just a nice combination of diced tomatoes with some of the brine, and I'll allow that to come to a simmer. Nice and simple. Now there's a lot of options that you could do with a dish like this. Some folks, in this restaurant, as a Havre in Philadelphia, you'll find this dish will come with a merguez sausage in it as an option and add it on if you wish. But I chose to make this a meatless dish this evening. After that, you're going to put in, you've got a fair measure of both cilantro and chopped parsley. I'm going to put some in the beginning and hold some off to the end as an accent garnish. So I'm going to pull those off, leave them off to the side. And you can see that I have cracked my eggs in advance. And I do that just to be able to expedite our video processes. The protein that's going to go into this dish this evening. So now I'm going to fold in that cilantro and the parsley and allow it to come to a nice simmer around the edges. We have feta cheese from sheep's milk, very traditional in Israel cooking. It's up to you. You can opt in, opt out. If you don't like this type of flavor, simply put in a Parmesan or absolutely no cheese at all. It's really up to you and your choice of what you want to have. So now I have this nice beautiful simmer in the skillet. I have my 4 eggs. I'm going to distribute them evenly throughout the shakshuka that's being cooked. Nice simmering process going on there. I try to separate them out so that the whites don't fuse together. That's going to help. You could have as many as 10, 12 eggs, as many eggs as you can fit in this dish in this skillet. It's really up to you. No rules involved in this process. So now I'm going to take this and put it directly into the oven and allow that to bake. If you don't have the oven, you don't want to worry about that. Just find something you can put over the top so to develop a steam, and that steam is going to allow those eggs to cook. It's only going to cook until the whites are solid and they coagulated, and the yolks are a little bit glazed over so that the yolks still have a little bit of a runny texture to them, so they're going to be absolutely delicious. All right, I'm going to put this in the oven, and then we're going to move in. We're going to move into working with the pita. Now, we talked about saving a little bit of the oil that we had from the original tray. I'm going to add enough oil on each of these pitas to be able to give a little bit of a basting of the oil around the exterior all the way to the edge of the pita bread. Now this, if it was summer, I would put these on the barbecue grill outside and get a nice marks on those to get some color. But tonight we're going to put them in the oven because we've already got it fired up for the shakshuka, and so this will make it nice and easy for us to work with. You can put them under the broiler, low broil, medium broil, whatever you so choose to work with. Then I'm going to give it a nice dusting of za'atar spices. Za'atar spices are basically a combination that we made in advance for you. They consist of oregano, thyme, sumac, some sesame seeds, some salt, and leo pepper flakes, all nice and beautiful. Move those around edge to edge. That really makes a difference. You'll find this za'atar seasoning in any Middle Eastern spice store, any Middle Eastern market, and we've got a lot of them around the city, thank goodness, so we can all enjoy flavors from international cooking and have a little better diversity in our diets on a regular. So these are going to go in the oven for a short period of time. And when they come out, usually about 4 to 6 minutes later, those pitas are ready to go. We're going to basically just cut those into some wedges. And these are going to be used as a dip based on how dense you want these to be. If you want them to be crisp, cut them, leave them in the oven a little bit longer. If you want them to be soft, leave them in the oven only for a few minutes, and you'll be able to enjoy a softer pita that can be used kind of as a spoon for the dish that you're going to be serving this evening. So about 14 minutes go by in a 375, 400 degree oven, and the shakshuka is done when the eggs start to coagulate, the whites start to coagulate, and the yolks are nice and soft set. So at that point, I pull the shakshuka out of the oven and I start to dish up. So this nice tomato mixture has reduced it a little bit, and I want to make sure I get plenty of the tomato and chickpea liquid on my plate. Maybe I'm going to have 2 eggs tonight as an option. These cooked a little bit longer than maybe you want to cook them at home. If I was at home, I would have these eggs just a little bit softer so that I could have that nice ooze of the egg yolk that comes out of there. To finish this dish, I'm going to put a little bit of chopped cilantro and a little bit of chopped parsley, more cilantro than parsley, just because I love it and I think it tastes wonderful. And that is the finish of our dish. I'm going to serve that with those pitas as a kind of a little dipping spoon per se for our dish this evening, and that is our shakshuka, or otherwise known as an international style breakfast for dinner. Enjoy.